My wife wrote me, I married someone else. You're pathetic. I replied, great. My wife sent me a message from Las Vegas. I just married my coworker. You're pathetic, by the way. I replied, great. Then I blocked her cards and changed the locks on the house. The next morning, the police were at my door. The phone vibrated at 11:15 at night. I was on the living room sofa reviewing documents for a project due Monday. Carolina, my wife of 6 years, was supposedly at a marketing conference in Las Vegas. She had sent me photos from the Bellagio Hotel 2 days earlier, smiling with her colleagues in front of the fountain. I miss you, the message accompanying the image said. I had believed her. The message arrived without warning, without context, without preparation. I read the words once, then twice, then 3 times. My brain refused to process their meaning. I just married my coworker. You're pathetic, by the way. The letters glowed on the screen as if they were on fire. My hands started to tremble. I called immediately. Voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I dialed 5 times in a row. Nothing. Then something inside me changed. It wasn't sadness or despair, it was a cold, metallic clarity. I got up from the sofa, walked to my computer, and opened the banking app. We had joint accounts ever since we got married. I earned triple what she did as a software engineer, but we had always shared everything. Trust, I used to tell myself. That's what makes a solid couple. With 3 clicks, I blocked her access to all our credit cards. With 4 more, I transferred the money from the joint accounts to an individual account I opened right that instant. $82,000. Years of savings, money I had earned working 12-hour days in front of a screen. Then I called the emergency locksmith I had used when I lost my keys last year. I need to change all the locks on my house, I told him. Tonight. Tonight? He asked, surprised. Yes, I'll pay you triple. He arrived at 1 in the morning. While he worked, I systematically packed all of Carolina's belongings into cardboard boxes I had stored in the garage. Clothes, shoes, makeup, books, everything. I didn't feel rage, I felt a robotic efficiency. Every object I put in a box was one more step away from the humiliation. At 4 in the morning, the locksmith finished. 14 new locks. Front door, back door, garage, security windows. Wife problems, he asked while packing his tools. I don't have a wife anymore, I replied. I wrote a simple message, great, and sent it. Then I blocked her number, blocked her social media, blocked her family, blocked her friends I knew. In 15 minutes, Carolina had disappeared from my digital life as if she had never existed. I poured myself a whiskey, just one. I drank it slowly while looking at the boxes piled by the door. I'll put them out on the street tomorrow. Let her pick them up when she gets back, I thought. If she ever comes back. The doorbell rang at 8:30 in the morning. I had slept for 2 hours. I opened the door, expecting an Amazon delivery. Instead, I found 2 police officers. Mateo Ruiz, the taller one asked. Yes. We need to ask you some questions about your wife, Carolina Mendez. My stomach clenched. What happened? Can we come in? I let them in. They sat in the living room, looking at the boxes piled by the door with neutral expressions that revealed nothing. Your wife filed a complaint, the younger officer said, consulting a notebook. She alleges that you left her without access to her bank funds and changed the locks on the house without prior notice. I felt a bitter laugh rising in my throat, but I suppressed it. Did she tell you why I did that? That's not relevant to the complaint, Mr. Ruiz. I walked over to my phone and showed them the message. I just married my coworker. You're pathetic, by the way. The taller officer read it in silence. His expression didn't change, but I saw his eyes harden imperceptibly. I understand, he said finally. But technically, if she is registered as a resident of this property. This house is in my name, I interrupted. Only my name. I bought it 2 years before I met her. I have all the documents. Even so, after 6 years of marriage, she has rights. Rights? My voice rose without me being able to control it. She married another man in Las Vegas while I was paying for her work trip. And she has rights? The younger officer closed his notebook. Look, Mr. Ruiz, we understand the situation, but we need everything to be handled legally. Do you have a lawyer? I'll call one right now. They left after warning me that I couldn't get rid of Carolina's belongings without a proper legal process, that any hasty action could be used against me in a potential divorce, that I should remain calm and let the law take its course. When I closed the door, my phone started vibrating. Unknown numbers, text messages from blocked contacts finding ways to get through. Carolina's mother, her sister, her best friend, all with the same script. You're a monster. How could you do this to her? She made a mistake, but you left her on the street with nothing. A mistake. Marrying another man was a mistake, like forgetting to buy milk at the supermarket, like being late for an appointment, like spilling coffee on a white shirt. I called Rodrigo, my best friend since college. He was a corporate lawyer, but he knew people in family law. I need the best divorce lawyer you know, I told him. And I need them today. What happened? I told him in 3 minutes. He whistled softly. Brother, that's. Can you help me or not? I'm sending you the contact for Valentina Torres. She's a lioness. She doesn't pull any punches. Valentina summoned me to her office at 2 p.m. She was a woman in her mid-40s, impeccable black suit, gray hair pulled back in a perfect bun. She listened without interrupting as I showed her the messages, the bank records, everything. Do you have proof of the marriage in Las Vegas? She asked. Just the message. I need more. Certificates, photos, witnesses. Give me 2 days. Can I keep the locks changed? For now, yes. But you must keep her belongings intact. Not a single thing can disappear, or they'll crucify you in court. That night, Carolina tried to get into the house. I was in the kitchen when I heard the key turning uselessly in the lock. Then banging, then yelling. Mateo, open this door. I stood motionless. Part of me wanted to open it, wanted to look her in the eyes and ask her how it had come to this. How 6 years of marriage had evaporated in a text message sent at midnight from a casino. I know you're in there. This is illegal. I'm calling the police again. The banging continued for 5 minutes. Then silence. I heard her footsteps walking away down the driveway. A car engine starting. Tires screeching against the asphalt. My phone vibrated. Another unknown number. I ignored it. Then another, and another. 5 voicemails. I didn't listen to any of them. I blocked all the numbers. At midnight, the doorbell rang. I didn't open it. It kept ringing. Insistent, desperate. Finally, it stopped. When I looked out the living room window, I saw a car parked in front of my house. Carolina was in the driver's seat, illuminated by the light of her phone, waiting. I stayed up all night watching her. She didn't move. At 6 in the morning, the car was still there. At 7, it finally started and drove away. 2 days later, Valentina called me. I have it all, she said. Marriage certificate between Carolina Mendez and Javier Soto. Issued in Las Vegas on April 22. Witnesses included. I also have screenshots from her Instagram where she posted photos of the ceremony before deleting them. One of her friends passed them to me. She's hated Carolina since high school. And now what? Now we file the divorce papers citing bigamy. This isn't Nevada, my friend. What she did is technically illegal. She didn't just ruin your marriage, she committed a federal crime. Something dark and satisfying twisted in my stomach. How long will it take? With this evidence, fast. 3 months, max. That afternoon, the papers were served. Carolina received them at the office where she worked. Her boss apparently witnessed the scene. According to Rodrigo, who knew someone working in the same building, she cried in the bathroom for an hour. My phone exploded with messages. Her mother, her sister, her father who had never shown any interest in my existence. All of them indignant, all accusing me. No one mentioned the small detail that their daughter had married another man while still married to me. I ignored every message, every call, every attempt to contact me. I submerged myself in work, in the gym, in anything that kept my mind busy. The nights were the worst, when the silence of the empty house became deafening, when the memories of 6 shared years replayed in my mind like a slow-motion movie. 2 weeks after the message, I received a summons. Carolina was suing me for half of everything. The house, the savings, the car, even the damned pots and pans from the kitchen. Her lawyer alleged that she was entitled to compensation for the years invested in our marriage, that my reaction had been disproportionate, that she deserved a second chance. Valentina laughed when I showed her the documents. Let them try, she said. With the evidence we have, they'll walk away with nothing, and hopefully, with criminal charges. But something in her tone worried me. What's wrong? Her lawyer is good. Very good. He's going to try to paint you as the villain, the controlling husband who left his wife on the street without a cent. He's going to play the victim card. And us? We are going to play the truth card. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for May 15th. 3 weeks away. 3 weeks in which my life became a whirlwind of depositions, documents, and constant stress. My performance at work began to decline. My boss, an understanding guy named Alberto, called me into his office. Matteo, I know you're going through something difficult, he said, but I need you to focus. This project is critical. I know, I'm sorry. Take a few days if you need to, but when you come back, I need the Matteo I know, not this ghost. I didn't take any days off. Work was the only thing keeping my sanity intact. But the nights were still relentless. Sometimes I'd wake up at 3 in the morning, convinced I heard her footsteps in the hall, her laugh in the kitchen, her voice calling me from the bedroom. Then I would remember, and reality would hit me all over again. Carolina wasn't here, she would never be here again, and I was completely alone in this house that now felt like a tomb. One night, I gave in. I unblocked her number. I wrote a message. Why? I deleted it before sending. I wrote another. Was it worth it? I deleted that too. Finally, I wrote, I hope you're happy. And I deleted that as well. I blocked the number again. This time, there would be no weakness. This time, I would get the answers in court. And when it was all over, Carolina would understand exactly what it felt like to be alone with the consequences of her actions. No money, no house, no husband. Nothing, except the memory of what she had destroyed for a whim in Las Vegas. But something told me this story was just beginning, and that the surprises were not over. The morning of May 15th dawned gray. Dense clouds covered the sky as if the weather itself agreed with the palpable tension. I put on my best suit, the navy blue one Carolina had given me for our anniversary 2 years ago. The irony was not lost on me. Valentina had insisted I project an image of stability and professionalism. Judges are human, she had told me. First impressions matter. I arrived at the courthouse 30 minutes early. Valentina was already there, reviewing documents on her tablet. She greeted me with a firm handshake. Ready? No. Perfect. Honesty is refreshing. She adjusted her glasses. Remember, don't react to anything they say. No matter how ridiculous or insulting, stay calm. The one who loses their temper loses the case. We entered the courtroom, and there she was. Carolina looked different. Thinner. Deep dark circles under her eyes, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, without the meticulous care she used to have. She wore a discreet gray suit. The perfect image of a suffering woman. Next to her was her lawyer, a man in his 60s with perfectly combed silver hair. He had that quiet confidence that comes from decades of winning cases. Our eyes met for a second. In her eyes, I saw something I didn't expect. It wasn't arrogance or defiance. It was fear. Pure, naked fear. She looked away immediately. The judge entered. The Honorable Marta Salinas, according to the plaque on her desk. A woman in her 50s, severe face, eyes that had seen too many lies to be easily impressed. "Good morning," she said, without warmth. Case number 3478, Ruiz vs. Mendez. Divorce with property dispute. She looked at both sides. "I understand there are allegations of infidelity and bigamy." Carolina's lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, my client admits she made an error in judgment during a moment of emotional crisis. However, Mr. Ruiz reacted in a disproportionate and vengeful manner, leaving her without access to basic resources and without a home. We request compensation for the 6 years of marriage and damages for emotional distress." Valentina stood up. Her voice was clear and firm. "Your Honor, we have evidence that Mrs. Mendez contracted a marriage with a third party while still legally married to my client. This constitutes bigamy." It was not a moment of emotional crisis. It was a deliberate decision communicated to my client via text message at midnight, with an insult included. Mr. Ruiz's subsequent actions were legitimate protective measures over his own assets. Judge Salinas looked at Carolina. "Mrs. Mendez, is it true that you contracted a marriage with another person while still married?" Carolina stood up with difficulty. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Yes, Your Honor." "And you communicated this to your husband via text message?" "Yes." "May I see that message?" Valentina handed her a printed copy. The judge read it in silence. Her eyebrows arched slightly. "I just married my coworker." "You're pathetic, by the way." She put the paper down on her desk. "Mrs. Mendez, what did you expect your husband to do upon receiving this?" Carolina's lawyer intervened quickly. "Your Honor, my client was under the influence of alcohol. Las Vegas, the lights, the festive atmosphere. It was an impulsive act that does not reflect. Counselor, I asked your client a question. She can answer for herself." Carolina swallowed visibly. "I don't know what I expected, Your Honor. I wasn't thinking clearly." "Evidently." The judge looked back at the documents. "And is this second marriage still valid?" Silence. A long, heavy silence. "Mrs. Mendez, I asked you a question." "It was annulled," Carolina finally whispered. "Javier. He was also married. His wife showed up the next day. There was a scene. The marriage was declared void." The courtroom seemed to freeze. I looked at Valentina. She looked at me. We did not have that information. Carolina hadn't just betrayed me with a coworker, she had tried to marry a man who was also cheating on his wife. The judge closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, there was something resembling revulsion in her expression. "I see. So you destroyed 2 marriages in 1 weekend. Impressive." Carolina's lawyer tried to recover. "Your Honor, my client's mistakes do not justify Mr. Ruiz leaving her literally on the street. She has no access to funds, she cannot enter her own home." "Her own home," the judge interrupted. "According to the documents I have here, the property is registered solely in Mr. Ruiz's name, purchased 2 years before the marriage. How is it her home? 6 years of marriage establish residency rights. Under normal circumstances, perhaps. But these are not normal circumstances. The judge looked directly at Carolina. Mrs. Mendez, are you employed? Yes, Your Honor. How much do you earn monthly? $3,200. And where are you currently living? With my mother. So you have a roof over your head, and you have an income. The judge turned back to Carolina's lawyer. I fail to see how your client is on the street. She has resources and shelter. Her actions have consequences. Mr. Ruiz acted to protect his assets after being notified of an extreme betrayal. That is not vengeance, it is common sense. I watched as Carolina crumbled in her chair. Her shoulders were shaking. She was crying silently. Part of me, a part one hated to admit existed, felt a pang of compassion. 6 years aren't erased in 3 weeks. But then I remembered the message, the tone, the cruelty. And the pang disappeared. I am ordering a full evaluation of marital assets, the judge continued. But I warn you, given the circumstances, my inclination is to favor the innocent spouse. Mrs. Mendez, I am also considering referring this case to the district attorney for possible bigamy charges. It is a federal crime. Carolina's face turned white as paper. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering urgently. Hearing adjourned until June 15, the judge declared, striking her gavel. Both parties will present full inventories of assets. And Mrs. Mendez, I suggest you consult with a criminal lawyer. You're going to need one. We left the courtroom. Valentina was beaming. That went better than I expected. The judge is on our side. And the criminal charges? Very real. Bigamy is punishable by up to 5 years in prison. It probably won't go that far, but the very fact that it's on the table gives us negotiating power. We walked towards the parking lot. Behind us, I heard a voice. Mateo, wait. I turned around. Carolina was running towards me. Her lawyer tried to stop her, but she ignored him. Please, I need to talk to you. Valentina touched my arm. You don't have to. It's okay. I don't know why I agreed. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was that residue of 6 years still clinging to my insides like a disease. We moved a few feet away. Carolina wiped tears with the back of her hand. Up close, she looked worse than I thought. Gaunt, broken. I know I have no right to ask you for anything, she began. I know I ruined everything. But please, don't let them prosecute me. Please. Why not? Because I'll lose my job, my professional license. Everything. Do you know what having a criminal record means in marketing? I'll never get another job. And what about what I lost? The words came out harder than I intended. My trust, my marriage, 6 years of my life. I know, I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. Her voice broke. I don't know what happened to me. Javier was. He was attention, he was novelty. He was stupid and selfish, and I ruined everything for something that wasn't even real. Not real, I repeated slowly. Then why did you do it? Because I'm an idiot. Because I got scared. We hit 6 years, and I started thinking about kids, and getting older, and that maybe I had missed out on something. And Javier was there, saying all the right things, making me feel young and excited again. She covered her face with her hands. And when I woke up the next day and saw what I had done, I panicked. So I sent you that horrible message. Because I needed you to hate me. I needed it to be your fault, somehow. I needed to justify the unjustifiable. There was something genuine in her pain, something I recognized as the Carolina I had known. The Carolina before Las Vegas, before Javier, before all of it. But the words didn't change the facts. Do you know what I felt when I read that message? I asked. It wasn't just pain. It was humiliation. Because I realized that while I was at home working late to pay for your trip, you were marrying another man. And then you called me pathetic, as if the 6 years we spent together meant nothing. They meant everything, she sobbed. They still mean everything. I love you, Matteo. I never stopped loving you. You didn't. You loved the idea of me. The stable husband who paid the bills while you lived out your fantasy. But when you got bored, you threw me away like trash. And now that there are consequences, you come crawling back. Please, she clung to my arm. Please, don't let them destroy me. Drop the suit. Let's just divorce on good terms. I won't ask for anything. Just let me go without the charges. For a moment, just one moment, I considered her offer. It would be easier. Faster. No legal drama, no hearings, no seeing her shattered face in court month after month. But then something deeper spoke up, something that had been buried under years of being the understanding guy, the guy who gave in, the guy who forgave. No, I said firmly. You are going to face the full consequences of what you did. If that includes criminal charges, so be it. Maybe the next time someone trusts you with their life, you'll think twice before shattering it for fun. I pulled my arm away. She just stood there, trembling, her eyes red and her mouth open in shock. I thought she would scream, that she would curse me, that she would show the cruel Carolina who had written that message. But she didn't. She just collapsed in on herself, crying silently. I walked back to Valentina, who had watched everything from a distance. We're moving forward. We're moving forward, she confirmed with a small smile. No mercy. The following days were a blur of depositions and documentation. Valentina was relentless. Every marital asset was catalogued, appraised, and justified. The house, the cars, the appliances, even the damned silver spoons we got as a wedding gift. Everything was put on the table. But it wasn't just the material things. Rodrigo, my lawyer friend, contacted me with stories that were starting to leak. Apparently, Javier, the co-worker, was facing his own hell. His wife, a woman named Patricia, had initiated her own divorce, but she didn't stop there. She went to the office where Carolina and Javier worked and made an epic scene. She screamed, she cried, she called Carolina every imaginable variation of homewrecker in front of the entire marketing department. The boss suspended them both, Rodrigo told me over the phone. Company policy, they can't have that kind of drama in the office. Carolina is basically on unpaid leave, and Javier will probably be fired. And Patricia is a corporate lawyer. She has the resources to destroy him legally. I heard she already froze his accounts and is demanding alimony for their 2 kids. Javier is finished. I felt a dark satisfaction hearing it. I wasn't alone. Others had been betrayed too, and we were all taking control. But the peace didn't last. 3 nights later, at 2 in the morning, the doorbell rang. Insistent, desperate. I got up, half asleep, and looked through the peephole. It was Carolina's mother. Dolores. I had never liked her. She had always treated her daughter like a princess and me like the lucky servant who had won the privilege of taking care of her. I opened the door with the security chain on. What do you want, Dolores? I need to talk to you. Her voice was hoarse. She had been crying. Please, Matteo. It's about Carolina. Something in her tone put me on alert. What's wrong? She's in the hospital. My stomach clenched. What? She tried. She took pills. Her sister found her in time, but she's under psychiatric observation. Dolores looked at me with pleading eyes. Please, drop everything. The charges, the lawsuit, all of it. She's destroyed. If you keep going, I don't know what she'll do. For a long moment, I didn't know what to say. Images of Carolina in a hospital bed flooded my mind. Part of Medhat part that still remembered how she laughed when we watched comedies together felt panic. But another part, the part that had read that message 100 times in the last few weeks, remained cold. That doesn't change what she did, I said finally. She's sick. She needs help, not punishment. She needs consequences. There's a difference. How can you be so cruel? You loved her once. I loved her for 6 years. She decided that didn't matter. And now she's using a mental health crisis to emotionally manipulate me. I'm not falling for it. Dolores looked at me as if I were a monster. You're going to have to live with this. When she really hurts herself, it will be your fault. No. It will be hers. For every decision she made, for every lie she told, for marrying another man and then telling me I'm pathetic. I closed the door before she could answer. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark living room, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was the villain of this story. If I had gone too far. If my thirst for justice had turned into revenge. At 6 in the morning, I called Valentina. Carolina is in the hospital. She tried to kill herself. Silence on the other end. When? Last night. And what do we do? Nothing. Nothing changes, Matteo. This is a tactic. It might be real, it might not be, but it doesn't change the facts of the case. If every time someone faces consequences, they play the suicide card, no one would ever be held responsible for anything. And if it is real? If she's really in danger? Then she needs professional help, which her family can get for her. You are not her savior. Not after what she did. She was right. I knew it. But the weight was still there. Heavy, dark, suffocating. The second hearing arrived on June 15th. This time, Carolina was not present. Her lawyer explained she was under psychiatric treatment and could not attend. He presented medical documents, prescriptions, therapist reports all designed to generate sympathy. Judge Salinas read them without expression. I am sorry to hear about Mrs. Mendez's condition. However, this is a legal proceeding that must continue. Her absence does not stop the process. Valentina presented our final asset evaluation. The house, valued at $350,000. The savings, $82,000. 2 vehicles, one in my name and one in Carolina's. Furniture, electronics, all catalogued with market value. We proposed the following division, Valentina said. Mr. Ruiz retains the house, which he bought before the marriage. The savings, generated 90% by his income, also remain with him. Mrs. Mendez can keep her vehicle and any personal belongings. Considering the circumstances of infidelity and bigamy, we believe this is more than fair. Carolina's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, that leaves my client with practically nothing. 6 years of marriage must count for something. They did count, the judge replied coldly. They counted right up until she decided to marry another man. Request for equitable division denied. Mr. Ruiz retains the assets proposed by his counsel. Mrs. Mendez may retrieve her personal belongings with a police escort on a coordinated date. But Your Honor, my decision is final. Now, regarding the bigamy charges. The judge looked directly at where Carolina should have been sitting. I have consulted with the DA's office. Given Mrs. Mendez's mental state and the fact the second marriage was annulled almost immediately, they have decided not to press criminal charges at this time. However, this will remain on her record. Any future offense will be considered in the context of this history. I felt a contradictory mix, relief that she wouldn't go to prison, disappointment that she wouldn't face criminal consequences, and underneath it all, an emptiness. This was what I had wanted. Justice. Victory. But now that I had it, it felt hollow. Divorce granted, the judge declared. Effective immediately. Both parties are free to rebuild their lives. Case closed. The gavel struck. And just like that, with that dry, definitive sound, 6 years officially evaporated. Valentina shook my hand. Congratulations. We won. Everything. Everything. The house, the money, my freedom. And yet, walking to the parking lot under the bright June sun, I felt strangely empty, as if I had won the battle but lost something more important in the process. Rodrigo called me that afternoon. Heard you won. Congrats, brother. Thanks. You don't sound very happy. It's complicated. Want to go for a drink? Yeah. We met at the bar we used to go to in college, a small place with dim lighting and soft rock music. Rodrigo ordered beers. I barely touched mine. So, you're officially free, he said after a long silence. How does it feel? I don't know. I thought I'd feel better. Winning doesn't always feel the way we think it will. She tried to kill herself. Rodrigo took a long drink. I know. The whole family is talking about it. They say you're a monster. Am I? What do you think? I thought about the question. Really thought. I think I did what I had to do. I think if I had given in, I would have sent the message that you can completely betray someone and then play the victim to escape the consequences. But I also think. I paused. What? That part of me still loves her. Or loves what was. And that part hates what I had to do. Rodrigo nodded slowly. That makes you human, not a monster. Her mother said that if Carolina really hurts herself, it'll be my fault. Carolina's decisions are Carolina's. Not yours. You didn't force her to marry Javier. You didn't write that cruel message. You just protected what was yours. If she can't handle the consequences of her own actions, that speaks to her character, not yours. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. But the weight was still there. 2 weeks later, I received a letter. There was no return address, just my address written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Mateo, it's Carolina's sister, Fernanda. I know we don't have a relationship and you probably hate our whole family right now. I don't blame you. But I needed you to know something. Carolina got out of the hospital 3 days ago. She's in intensive therapy, she's on medication, she's trying to rebuild. I'm not writing to apologize on her behalf or to ask you to take her back. That's never going to happen, and we both know it. I'm writing because she asked me to tell you something she didn't have the courage to say herself. She says she's sorry. Not the manipulative kind of sorry you've heard 1,000 times. A real sorry. She says she destroyed the best thing that ever happened to her by chasing a stupid fantasy. She says you deserve to be happy, that she hopes someone treats you with the love and respect she couldn't give you. And she says if, ever, in some distant future, you two can be friends, or at least not enemies, she would be grateful. But if not, she understands. She doesn't expect a reply. She just wanted you to know the regret is real. Take care, Mateo. You were a good husband to my sister. She just wasn't a good wife to you. I read the letter 3 times, then folded it and put it in a drawer. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know if I believed Carolina's regret. I didn't know if it mattered. What I did know was that I needed to move on. The house felt different now. Bigger, quieter, but also more mine. I hired an interior designer to redecorate. Every piece of furniture she had chosen was replaced. Every wall she had painted was repainted. Slowly, the house became my space. Not our space. My space. Work improved. My concentration returned. Alberto noticed the change. "There's my best engineer," he told me one afternoon. "Welcome back." "Thanks. It's good to be back." 3 months after the divorce, I accepted an invitation to a college reunion. I hadn't gone in years. Carolina had always had some excuse not to attend. Too boring. Too many people. Too whatever. But now it was just me, and I could do whatever I wanted. It was strange seeing everyone after so long. Some had gained weight, others had lost hair. We all had lines on our faces that weren't there 10 years ago. But the smiles were genuine. The conversations flowed. And for the first time in months, I laughed. Really laughed. Not a forced or polite laugh, but a true laugh that came from deep in my chest. "Where's Carolina?" someone asked. "We got divorced." "Oh, man. I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was the right thing to do." And in that moment, I believed it. I really believed it. Near the end of the night, a woman approached. Amelia. We had taken several classes together in sophomore year. She was smart, funny, with a smile that lit up any room. We had never been more than friends, but there had always been something. A spark, a connection. "Mateo. I haven't seen you in years." "Amelia. You look incredible." And it was true. She had short hair now, a pixie cut that highlighted her green eyes. She wore a simple but elegant blue dress. We talked for an hour. About work, about life, about the people we had been and who we had become. When I mentioned the divorce, she just nodded with understanding. "Mine was 2 years ago." "I get it. How did you get through it?" "One day at a time. And by surrounding myself with people who actually valued me. It's not always easy, but it's possible." When the reunion ended, we exchanged numbers. "We should get coffee sometime," she suggested. "I'd like that." And for the first time since that April night when my phone vibrated with the message that changed everything, I felt something like hope. Life went on. The days turned into weeks, the weeks into months. Carolina became a painful memory, yes, but a memory nonetheless. Amelia and I started dating. Slowly, without rushing. Just two people enjoying each other's company, with no pressure, no expectations. Just possibility. A year after the divorce, I received a message from an unknown number. "Hi, Mateo. It's Carolina. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I don't blame you. I just wanted to tell you that I moved to another city. New job, new start. Therapy is helping. I'm learning to live with the consequences of my decisions. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better. I hope you're well, that you're happy. You deserve it more than anyone. Goodbye, Mateo." I read the message once, then deleted it. Not with anger, not with pain. Just with acceptance. Carolina was part of my past. An important part, a part that had shaped who I was now, but just that, the past. I looked at Amelia, who was in my kitchen making coffee, humming a song I didn't recognize. She saw me watching her and smiled. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I replied. And it was true. Everything is okay. Because in the end, Carolina's betrayal hadn't destroyed me. It had freed me. Freed me from a relationship that had stopped being healthy long before Las Vegas. Freed me from the idea that unconditional forgiveness was the same as self-respect. Freed me to find someone who valued me as much as I valued her. The road had been brutal. The scars would remain. But I was alive, I was free, and I was ready for whatever came next. And that, I thought, as Amelia handed me a cup of coffee and our fingers brushed briefly. That was enough. But some stories don't end with a simple, "and they lived happily ever after." Life is more complicated than that, more nuanced. And what came next was a lesson about the true meaning of closing circles. 6 months after that message, Carolina appeared again. This time it wasn't through a text or a call. It was in person. And the circumstances were completely different. It was a Friday afternoon. Amelia and I had decided to spend the weekend out of town. I was loading bags into the car when I saw an unfamiliar vehicle park in front of my house. A woman got out. It took me a second to recognize her. Carolina, but transformed. Her hair was dark brown now, instead of the blonde she had always worn. More weight on her face, conservative and simple clothes. But above all, something different in her AITA clarity I hadn't seen in years. "Matteo," she said, approaching slowly, as if afraid I would run or yell. "I know this is inappropriate. I know I shouldn't be here. But I need to talk to you. Just 5 minutes." Amelia came out of the house right then, saw Carolina, and understood immediately. "Do you want me to stay?" she asked me quietly. "No, it's okay. It'll just be a moment. I'll be inside if you need me." She squeezed my hand before going back in. Carolina followed her with her gaze. "Is that your girlfriend?" "Yes. She seems kind. I'm happy for you." "What are you doing here, Carolina?" "I came to give you this." She pulled an envelope from her purse. "It's a check. $25,000. I know it's nowhere near what I owe you. I know I can never pay you back for the years or the pain. But it's everything I've been able to save working at my new job. I want to start paying my debt to you." I looked at the envelope without taking it. "I don't want your money. Please. I need to do this. For me. So I can move on, knowing I at least tried to compensate you in some tangible way." There was something genuine in her voice, something that wasn't manipulation or theater. It was just tiredness. The exhaustion of someone who had carried guilt for too long. I took the envelope. "Thank you. I also wanted to tell you. I'm engaged." I was surprised. "Really?" "His name is Tomas. He's a therapist, ironically. We met in a support group. He also went through a difficult divorce. He's helping me be a better person. A person who doesn't run when things get hard. A person who faces her mistakes instead of blaming others. I'm happy for you. Really." I thought about the question. Was I really happy? I searched inside myself for that flame of resentment that had burned so brightly for months. And I found it. But it was just an ember. Small, manageable. It didn't control my life. "Yes," I said honestly. "I really am." Carolina nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "I'm happy for you, too. When I saw your girlfriend. The way she looked at you before she went inside. That's real love. The kind of love I was too stupid to value when I had it. But I'm glad someone else can give it to you now." "Carolina, why did you really come?" "It wasn't just for the check." She took a deep breath. "Because my therapist says that part of true recovery is facing the people we hurt. No excuses, no justifications. Just honest acknowledgement of the damage done. So, here it goes. Matteo, I betrayed you in the cruelest way possible. Not just with the infidelity, but with how I communicated it. That message was designed to hurt you, to make you feel small. Because in my twisted mind, if I made you the villain, I didn't have to be the bad guy. But I was. I always was. I destroyed something beautiful because I was afraid of being happy, because stable happiness felt boring compared to the thrill of chaos. And I paid the price. I lost my job, my reputation, I almost lost my life. But more than anything, I lost my self-respect. And that was the hardest thing to get back." She paused, wiping tears with her sleeve. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that every day, I am working to be someone who would never again do what I did to you. And if you can ever, in the very distant future, think of me without pain, that will be more than I deserve. I didn't know what to say. For months, I had imagined this moment. I had rehearsed cutting responses, speeches about justice and consequences. But now, facing this broken, honest version of Carolina, the prepared words felt empty. "Thank you for saying that," I finally replied. "It means something. I don't know exactly what, but it means something." She nodded. "Then I'll go. Take care, Mateo. And take care of your girlfriend. She seems special." "She is." Carolina walked back to her car. Before getting in, she turned one last time. "By the way, Javier is in therapy, too. His wife. She forgave him. They're rebuilding. I guess some people get that lucky. I didn't. But that's okay. Some things can't be repaired. You can only learn from them." I watched her drive away. The car disappeared around the corner. I just stood there in my driveway, the envelope in my hand, feeling something strange. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't sadness. It was closure. Real closure. Amelia came out of the house. "Are you okay?" "I think so." That night, Amelia and I drove to the coast. We found a small hotel by the sea. We walked on the beach at sunset, the waves lapping at our bare feet. She didn't ask about Carolina. She knew I would share when I was ready. Later, sitting on our room's balcony with cheap wine and the sound of the ocean in the background, I finally spoke. She gave me a check. $25,000. Amelia whistled softly. "And you took it?" "Yeah. How do you feel about that?" "Strange. I don't need the money. But I think she needed to give it. She needed to do something tangible to deal with her guilt." "And do you think she's really changed?" I thought about the question. "I think she's trying. Whether she's changed permanently, only time will tell. But at least she's doing the work. That's more than a lot of people do." Amelia took my hand. "Do you still love her?" "No. At least, not like I loved her. I love the memories of what we were, before everything fell apart. But the person who sent me that message, the person who married another man while still married to me, I don't love that person. I barely recognize her." "That makes sense. And you?" I asked. "Do you still love your ex?" She reflected. "I love what he taught me. About my boundaries, about what I deserve, about the difference between love and codependency. But him, as a person? No. That love died when he decided that hitting me was an acceptable way to solve arguments." I tensed. "He hit you?" 3 times. Before I had the courage to leave. Therapy helped me understand it wasn't my fault. That I wasn't provoking him. That his violence was about his inability to control his emotions, not about my actions. God, Amelia. I'm so sorry. Don't be. That experience made me stronger, wiser. And eventually, it led me to you. To someone who treats me with respect, with tenderness. As if I matter. You do matter, I said firmly. You matter so much. She leaned in. We kissed as the sun finished disappearing over the horizon. And in that moment, I understood something fundamental. Carolina's betrayal hadn't been the end of my story. It had been the turning point. The moment that forced me to grow, to set boundaries, to value myself enough not to accept less than I deserved. And now, sitting with Amelia under the starry sky, with the sound of the ocean as a soundtrack, I finally felt like I had reached the other side. Not unscathed. Nobody goes through that kind of betrayal without scars. But I had survived. I had healed. And I had found something better. The following months passed in a haze of quiet happiness. Amelia and I moved in together after a year of dating. It was her idea, which surprised me. After her abusive marriage, I thought she would be more cautious. But she explained that because of that, she knew how to recognize when something was different, when someone was safe. "With you, I feel at home," she told me one night as we unpacked boxes in what was now our bedroom. "I don't have to walk on eggshells. I don't have to measure every word. I can just be. You can always be yourself with me," I assured her. And I meant it. With Amelia, there was no drama, no mind games. Just honesty, communication, and mutual respect. The things I thought I had with Carolina, but which, in retrospect, had been an illusion. Carolina, for her part, disappeared completely from my life after that visit. No messages, no calls, no surprise appearances. Just silence. And it was fine. More than fine. It was exactly what we both needed. But life has strange ways of closing circles. 2 years after our divorce, I received an invitation in the mail. Carolina was marrying Tomas. And she was inviting me to the wedding. Amelia found it first. "Is this serious?" she asked, incredulous. "Why would she invite you to her wedding?" I called Rodrigo to ask his opinion. "It's weird," he admitted. "But maybe it's her way of showing she's really moved on, that there are no hard feelings." "Should I go? Do you want to go?" That was the real question. Part of me was curious. I wanted to see this new Carolina, to confirm she had found happiness, to close that chapter definitively. But another part didn't want to go near it. Didn't want to risk stirring up buried emotions. "I don't know," I admitted. "Then don't go." Simple. But it wasn't simple. Because the next day, I received another letter, this one handwritten by Carolina. "Mateo, I know inviting you to my wedding probably seems strange, or inappropriate. I don't expect you to come. But I wanted to extend the invitation because you are part of my story. An important part. And part of my recovery has been accepting my entire past, including the horrible mistakes I made. Tomas knows everything about you, about what I did. He's been patient as I've worked through my guilt and shame. Your presence at my wedding, if you chose to come, would be a signal to myself that I have made peace with my past enough to invite it to celebrate my future. But if you don't come, I will completely understand. Either way, I want you to know I wish you the best. Always. Carolina." I showed the letter to Amelia. She read it twice. "It's your decision," she said finally. "But if you go, I'm going with you. You'd come with me?" "Of course. I wouldn't let you face that alone." We decided to go. Not for Carolina, but for us. To prove, mostly to ourselves, that the past no longer had power over us. The wedding was in a small, intimate garden. Maybe 50 guests. Nothing like the extravagance of our wedding 7 years ago, which had cost $40,000 and had 200 guests. This was simple, elegant, personal. When we arrived, Carolina saw us immediately. Her face showed genuine surprise. She clearly hadn't expected us to attend. She approached slowly. "You came," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "We didn't want to miss the occasion," I replied with a genuine smile. "Carolina, this is Amelia, my girlfriend." The two women assessed each other. There was tension in the air. But also something else. Mutual respect, perhaps. A recognition that they had both survived their own battles. "It's a pleasure to meet you," Carolina said finally. "Mateo is lucky to have found you." "We're all lucky to get second chances," Amelia replied diplomatically. The ceremony was simple but emotional. Tomas was a quiet man in his 40s, with premature gray hair and a kind smile. During the vows, Carolina cried, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of gratitude, of relief, of having found peace after so much chaos. During the reception, Carolina approached our table. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" "In private?" I looked at Amelia. She nodded. "I'll be right here." We walked to the edge of the garden, where the party lights barely reached. "Thank you for coming," Carolina began. "It means more than you can imagine." "Why did you really invite us?" "Because I needed you to see that I made it. That after all the damage I caused, after nearly destroying myself completely, I managed to find my way back to something resembling sanity. And I needed you to see Tomas. That he's real. That he's not another impulsive fling or an escape from reality. He's someone who knows me at my absolute worst and decided to stay anyway. I'm happy for you. Sincerely. I really am." "You are." "Yeah. We all deserve second chances. You included." She exhaled, as if she'd been holding her breath for months. "Will you ever be able to completely forgive me?" I considered the question carefully. I don't know if complete forgiveness exists. But I've let you go. I don't carry anger towards you anymore. I don't blame you for every problem in my life. You've stopped being the villain of my story. And you've just become a person who made mistakes. A person who is trying to be better. And that's enough for me." She nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. That's more than I deserved. Thank you, Mateo. For everything. For forgiving, even when I didn't ask. For letting me go when holding on was easier. For coming today and giving me peace. We all need peace, I said simply. We walked back to the party. Amelia took my hand as soon as I sat down. "Everything okay?" "Everything's okay." We watched Carolina dance her first dance with Tomas. They looked happy. Genuinely happy. And for the first time, I didn't feel a trace of bitterness. Just satisfaction. That we had both found our way to something better. Later that night, as we were driving home, Amelia broke the silence. "Do you think everyone deserves a second chance?" "I think everyone deserves the possibility to change. But second chances have to be earned." Carolina did the work. She faced her demons, she got help, she made peace with her past. That's why she deserves her second chance. And we're living our second chances. Maybe. Or maybe. We're just finally living the lives we always deserved, but that just took a while to get here. She smiled, resting her head on my shoulder. I like that perspective. 2 months later, I proposed to Amelia. It wasn't elaborate or dramatic. It was in our living room on a Sunday morning, while we were drinking coffee and reading the paper. I just asked her if she wanted to spend the rest of her life with me. She said yes without hesitation. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony with only close family and intimate friends. No drama, no impossible expectations. Just two people who loved each other, promising to treat each other with respect and kindness. Carolina sent a gift. A simple note with it said, "May you have everything you deserve. Everything I didn't know how to give you. Congratulations." And that, finally, was the true end. Not with explosions or revenge or prolonged pain. But with acceptance. With growth. With two people who have been terrible for each other finding ways to be happy apart. Sometimes I think about that April night when my phone vibrated with that devastating message. I think about how much pain it caused, how many sleepless nights, how many tears, how much rage. But I also think about what came after. The growth, the self-awareness, the understanding that true love doesn't require sacrificing your dignity. That second chances are possible, but they must be earned. That forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, but simply letting go of the weight of anger. Carolina ruined our marriage. That's undeniable. But in doing so, she unknowingly freed me to find something better. Something healthier. Something real. And for that, in an ironic twist of fate, I almost owe her gratitude. Almost. But not quite. Because some scars, even after they've healed, never completely disappear. They are there as permanent reminders of the battles we fought and survived. And that's okay. Because those scars tell our story. And our story, with all its dark twists and moments of betrayal, made us who we are today. Stronger, wiser, more aware of our own worth. And that, in the end, is worth more than any marriage that could have been.